Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here, John here, you there. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday, so whatever's on your mind, bring it to the table. And thanks for watching us. However you're accessing us this morning, could be on Twitch, on the Soccer Down Here Twitch channel, could be on our YouTube stream, or it could be on the 280-character app. Morning, Alex. And got a lot to talk about this morning. A lot of it has to do with Atlanta United off the start anyway, because there are reports of ins and outs. We have updates. We've got ideas. There's stuff that trickled through yesterday. There are updates from this morning. So we'll go over all of that as a part of what we're talking about this morning. Obviously, there's the other transfers going on, other signings in Major League Soccer, big names being moved yesterday. And also, we've got all the transfer news overseas. And we've got other stuff to discuss as well. I know that Tom had brought to the table the story at a World Soccer Talk about the idea of the NWSL and the USL Super League, and the two of them going head-to-head. Speaking of what's going on in the NWSL, have you seen what's been going on, morning, Tom, with Gotham? Gotham's basically signing everybody. They're just like, yep, we'll bring it in. And they got national coverage on CBS this morning with folks. So Gotham is signing everyone, and there's rumors that they're signing even more than everyone. So we'll get into, Tom, what you brought to the table yesterday with the NWSL, USL Super League, and what we're seeing out of Gotham as well. Obviously, there's some departures for folks that are in and away for AFCON and for the Asian Cup. We'll get into all of that. And, once again, we are holding our information about Serie and the conversation until Nick decides that he can join us one more time. Jared Smith dropping in. And morning, Jared.
Morning, John.
We can go a bunch of different directions, but I figure since you are here, I will go ahead and slide opening kickoff because it's a newsy topic.
Okay.
And we'll get
we
right
up for whatever. So.
Well, no, I mean it's literally Everton and Forest and FFP.
Sorry,
so
John.
It's a real exciting topic, but it's something that folks need to know about.
First thing I haven't seen Roper in like 3.5-4 weeks. First thing I'll ask him Sunday. Hey, how about that Everton?
Yeah,
Everton get beaten with a goalkeeping glove.
Yeah, Everton might be facing a second penalty, and Forest. This is the short version. And that Forest is now hired apparently a highfalutin of fallutining lawyers to try to make sure that they don't get drawn into FFP and get any kind of points deduction. Yeah, Tom, we're going to talk about Troy Lassine and his possibility of heading over to DC as well. But I figure starting with Atlanta United, Jarrett, and when you've got news on a couple of different fronts and you've got a lot of our A-tier dudes who are saying things, we probably need to bring them to the table. I guess what you want to start with. You want to start with Gregerson?
Yeah, surprise me. Go. Let's start wherever we want. We're good.
Gregerson, Steen Gregerson, multiple sources, and I think it was Fabrizio Romano actually who brought up the update of updates this morning and was drawing the ire of some fans because he was mentioning stuff about Steen Gregerson. And we're like, well, wait a minute, dude. An hour ago, Romano says this: Atlanta United are closing in on the deal to sign Norwegian center back Steen Gregerson from Bordeaux. Agreement in place between the clubs on the $2 million US fee. Player discussing personal terms now, then time to travel for medical and contract signings. So yesterday we're sitting there and everybody's going, well, there's no news about Atlanta United. So we'll start with Steen Gregerson and with what Fabrizio Romano is dropping on the table.
So here's the thing, man. You're sorry.
Wow. Wow.
No club is actively dropping news every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's much easier when you take a step back and look at the entire window, the entire off season as a whole, and you see action. Like, oh, okay, we had a busy window. It's not going to hit every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And as we saw in the summer, sometimes it hits quick. And Yeah, it's this had been talked about in the last week, and I think once you get the rumor, I mean, you're in one of when it's a looser rumor, it's one of two things: either it starts to pick up steam or it dies on the vine. And we've seen plenty die on the vine. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Sounds like though you have gone out and found yourself another center back, and yeah, needed to.
Yep.
And a very well regarded Norwegian center back at that. So sounds like they're almost across the line here. I'm assuming it'll be a TAM deal. Figure out how many years you're able to spread everything out. And yeah, you get this done, and then you start turning your attention to the other rumors that are going out there.
Which we've got this.
Because that's the thing is, like, I don't want to hear about, like, nothing's happening. I haven't heard anything. There's like 4 rumors out there right now with players incoming and outgoing. It's loud right now.
Yes, it is. It is very, very loud right now, and that's literally it's like
anxiety. It's so loud.
It's all this angst that's coming across Jared's table. So I mean, you drafted Derek Williams in re-entry.
Yes.
And so nothing
screams third center back / hey, we want you to push Luis Abraham. Or, insert other center back here. And we want y'all to be in a dogfight every week to see who starts. It's ideally what you want.
And you can also be there to, as a 30-pluser, mentor the young dudes in Noah Cobb and Efren Morales.
Yeah.
And so it will be.
Go ahead.
No, it's just right now you're getting all of this stuff that's happening at the back. At least, I mean, we'll take it a name at a time. But you sign Williams or you draft Williams. Don't know anything official about inking a deal, but you drafted Williams in re-entry. You're this close to bringing in Gregerson, and you're like, okay, got it. All right, that's 2. And once again, we've talked about where Atlanta United's front office is going to grab individuals. It is the absolute version of zigging while everyone else is zagging. Or are you zagging while everybody else is
zigging? And it will ebb and flow. Right now, Atlanta is basically living in second division in France, and it's working. Eventually, some other club is going to find their own version of that, where they start finding successes, and then we'll look at it and go, man, they hit an ore vein, and then we'll wonder why other clubs haven't done it. It's cyclical. I mean, you'll find different areas where guys fit what you want. You enjoy it while it lasts, though, because nothing of this lasts forever. Yes, Tom. We do need him to speak to Erling Haaland about the lovely things here. On that note, actually, about wings, I saw somebody while discussing quarterbacks for the Falcons, like with Jaden Daniels, they're like, "No, Jaden Daniels is a little skinny. We need to put some weight on him." Like, if he wants to put some weight on, we can do that. Like, you take him down to the Vortex, we'll put some weight on him.
Yeah.
You take him down to Magic City and get him some Lou Williams wings and some catfish nuggets. We will put some weight on the boy. We can do that. That ain't hard. I do want to see Atlanta's weird, beautiful culinary gifts impacted upon the world in 2026. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Where, we get like whichever clubs are based in Atlanta for the World Cup, and we're gonna have to like, hey man, there's some Vortex. Good morning.
Oh,
we're gonna pack the entire like Portuguese national team into a Waffle House. Yeah.
Oh,
we're gonna have to do takeout for Magic City for somebody.
Yeah.
Just because we don't want to cause an international incident.
No.
I don't want multiple embassies involved.
That could happen just as early as the Copa America, sir.
It really could. But I feel like in the Copa, man, I feel like the South American countries are going to be better equipped to deal with all of this.
Yeah.
To deal with Atlanta being Atlanta.
Yes.
But yeah, we just take away at Magic City. I don't want an international incident.
DoorDash. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want
like the biggest controversy in Atlanta since Bill Campbell.
Oh wow.
But
Oh, a Bill Campbell reference. We're 10
welcome.
minutes into the show, and we get a Bill Campbell reference. Gregerson's numbers for an FYI, 14 matches this year. 2 yellows. He's played 984 minutes in league, and he has played another half in the Coupe de France. Career-wise, center back, 174 matches, so primarily a center back. He's played D-mid. He's played central mid. He's played at right back, and he even had a cup of coffee at right midfield and one at left wing, but primarily a center back. And as Niall points out, at 1.91 meters, otherwise known as 6'4", that could help you out with tall individuals that could be used on set pieces because, Jared, as we all know, it is set pieces.
I remain the tallest individual in that locker room at any given time when we do post game, and that's a title I'm going to keep. It looks like,
and that's the beautiful part of it, just that make sure that Jarrett is, as always, the tallest individual that is there.
Yeah, it's the one thing I have to cling to.
Well, that and making sure that you were between the sticks and you were playing barefoot and saving a match.
I'm never going to let Ed forget it either.
Nor should you.
But his size does factor in here. Atlanta was better defending set pieces last year, and they were much more dangerous on attacking set pieces. Which is funny because that was never really Atlanta's MO. But Thiago Almada and Brooks Lennon both incredibly good at dead ball delivery. And you had Juan Parata in the last 2 years, which Parata's gone, which sucks. I will miss Air Force One.
Yes.
I thought he was a really good fit. Good dude. I understood and ran with his role. And look, guys everybody wants to start, even though that's not possible. I thought he never let his role get to him. He took on that role of being the depth guy, and then would play hard when he got on the field. And yeah, he was a danger in those set pieces. But you get another big body in here. Miles have started to show those flashes of being dangerous on set pieces. But you get another big body in here, both for defensive and offensive set pieces. Great, because right now, the way you're structured and with your attacking power, you're going to generate set pieces when things break down the attacking half or something doesn't come off. Good chance you're going to get set piece opportunities as teams just try and get it out of the mix or just try and stop dangerous situations. So you need to be able to take advantage of them.
Next name on the list came up yesterday, and it was Daniil Maldonado. Morning, Abby. And this one kind of came out of left field a little bit. And it came from Diaz out of Honduras. Not necessarily a place that you would sit there and have instantly in your bookmarks. But headline yesterday, an MLS champion is interested in Daniil Maldonado. This is the future of the Honduran for 2024. And once again, this is translated, so bear with me. The future of Daniil Maldonado is unknown since the Honduran soccer player is a free agent after not being acquired by LAFC. However, there's no shortage of suitors for the 25-year-old defender who's certain of his continuity in the highest category of soccer in the United States, where one of its most important franchises has been interested in the Legionnaire. This team is Atlanta United, which, according to information from HCH, quote, shows strong interest in the Catracho defender, end quote. The institution was the MLS champion in 2018, belongs to the Eastern Conference, the most important in the competition. There will surely, and once again, this is Diaz in translation, surely be weeks of great uncertainty as the future of the national team is defined after its good debut campaign in the United States. Many clubs have asked about its services, but a formal offer has not yet arrived. Maldonado's agent, Julio Parejo, confirmed that Daniil is in he's in the MLS draft, but once again, this is through translation. So he's eligible to sign for any team. Surely in the coming days, we'll have news from this operation. In the 23 campaign, Maldonado, who belongs to Motagua, started in the first stretch, finished his loan with LAFC playing 1,672 minutes, 21 matches divided between MLS and CONCACAF, scoring a goal. LAFC is the first option LAFC has the priority, and for me, they are the first option. Quoted Maldonado 2 weeks ago. Truth is that I haven't had a conversation. I just arrived in Honduras. LAFC has the option. I'm on vacation. My representative is the one who handles the issue. So that was Maldonado a couple of weeks ago after the loan from Otagua. So Daniil Maldonado's name is now being thrown into the mix. And Jarrett, once again, last year, 1 goal, 21 appearances in MLS, 1,671 minutes. Most of his time is at center back, has played a little right back as well. But you're once again looking at an individual in Daniil Maldonado who it would be giving you depth and competition and trying to sit there and, find a place and figure out how he could how he could fit into this situation.
It gives you flexibility too. I mean, you're past the Ronald Hernandez phase, and you need someone who can slot in and do a couple different things. You need those guys who can be flexible, who can be a Swiss Army knife, and similar to talking about Juan Prata. Like, again, not everyone can start, but I need people to serve different roles, and I need someone, be it him, be it Derek Williams, who can come in and I tell him, hey, you're only going to start a handful of games for me. You're going to come off the bench a lot. You're going to be asked to be an absolute pill to deal with in training. You're going to be asked to earn every possible minute you can, and we'll see what happens. But you're also going to be asked potentially to take on different roles. And if you can do that, that will increase your time on the field. But you have to show me you can do the jobs in all of those roles. LAFC in its current form is different than what Atlanta does right now. They're just not the same animal. Tremolo has really taken them to more of a sit back and counter kind of team. I'd be interested in it for sure, man. A lot of it depends on the cost because you still are in a cap situation, and you have the rumors out of Poland as well, which we can get to those.
Yeah. With Sleege, yes.
Yeah, with Sleege, and with with center backs this way and that way. And you did rack up a lot of money on draft day, moving guys around. Williams is not signed that we know of. That
Right.
They just have his rights on re-entry. You have some money to play with, but you don't have infinite money to play with. So how do you go to all of them, and you go to a couple of these guys like, hey, here's the offer on the table. Yes or no? No hard feelings if you say no. Just this is what we can offer.
Right.
But you give yourself options.
Yep. The info on, and of course, Niall looking at our rundown, being the true contributor that he is. Yes, Franco Ibarra will be discussed. He's in the bullpen. Mm-hmm. His time is coming up. The reminder on Bartosz Szliz, Legia Warsaw, and the offer right now for Szliz is about $2.2 million. They want to try to get Szliz in, perhaps strengthen the squad. And so it is Atlanta United and Lecce chasing after Szliz and his time at Legia Warsaw. So $2 million offers. What does Szliz want to do? 165 appearances since 2020 for Legia Warsaw. International attention due to consistent performance and technical skills, ability to control the midfield and contribute to the attack has made him a target for clubs. And once again, Atlanta United looking to bolster their roster internationally. Lecce wants to add a key piece to the team to compete in their competitions in Italy. So what direction does Bartosz Szliz want to go? So that would be a midfield addition with Atlanta United. So then that came out about a week ago, and that we haven't heard anything about Bartosz Szliz and Legia Warsaw since that initial report. It was 6 days ago. Haven't heard anything since. So kind of file that one away. So that takes care of Gregerson with an update. Looks like it's getting closer. Daniil Maldonado and Jarrett, as your FYI, Maldonado last year at LAFC made $355. So it's a navigable salary figure. Guaranteed compensation $386, a little over that, but his base $355. So that was navigable last year. So if we're looking for a comparison in an individual when it comes to that kind of a salary figure, that's in and around what they paid Ronald Hernandez last year. So financially, that's what you would be staring at from a comparison. Ronald Hernandez made $375 last year, and Daniil Maldonado was slightly less than that at LAFC. Now, name number 4. Niall was on top of it, and we've been discussing this in the green room this morning forecard. Rosario Central and Franco Ibarra. And Cesar Luis Merlo has jumped in on this one as well. And so the way it looks, Jarrett, with the Ibarra, it looks like it is going to be a year. Once again, translating, agreed to sign Franco Ibarra on a 1-year loan with an option. Not necessarily a surprise. Herman Garcia Grova, Rodri Mendoza, Cesar Luis Merlo are all pointing at Franco Ibarra now going to Rosario Central for the 2024 season, loan with an option to buy.
Yeah. Look, this frees up one of your U22 spots, which I reiterate what I said last night. If you weren't going to add another DP spot, and they didn't, I still think it's incredibly asinine that Major League Soccer has tied the U22 spots to the DP spots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to expand out spending, let teams have that freedom more. Quit tying, untie the U22 spots to the DPs, where you can't have, if you have 3 full DPs, you can only have one U22 spot open. No, let them have all of their U22 spots. Let them have all their DPs however they want to do it.
Yeah.
Give teams a chance to go fetch young talent. And, if they get into, you get into a situation where your U22s are about to expire and your DPs are there, well, you have to deal with that problem. You have to deal with that problem. It's just so, it's just, I think it was really short-sighted of MLS to keep this draconian restriction in place.
Well, because if you're not going to adjust your salary structure and you're not going to add DPs and everything still has to be in whatever the cap is, and once again, because we don't have this kind of information, which I think we need to have, so we all can be more educated when it comes to what teams can or can't do and what they're able to do, and for whatever reason they don't. You need to have this information. And in lieu of not having information, I think that, to your point, you've got to widen your berth a little bit so you can sit there and have more freedom in navigating what you can do with your roster. So if my cap is still my cap, at least let me spend in ways that won't go against the cap and I can continue to improve my club. Now, I think that's vital here, when you shouldn't be tying one thing to the other. Let each operate independently so you can grow however you want and have another option to do it, since you can't spend, unless you're Messi and friends, $9 gazillion and try to figure out ways to do it through NIL deals.
Yeah, ideally, I mean, I just think it was a really easy layup to hit, and they just didn't. It's not even that they blew it; it's just they didn't really try it. It seems like. Of course, if the players' union threw a fit or something, could have also impacted that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think it was an easy layup, and they just didn't attempt it. As far as Franco himself goes, I hope he kills it down in Argentina.
Yep.
He took a huge step forward as a player in the first half of 2023. There's things he can absolutely improve on. He can improve on the ball, improve his passing.
Mm-hmm.
There's things he can get better at, and that's okay. Everybody can. He took huge steps forward, partnering with Zetsu in the midfield in the first half of the season. It got better in the second half when you had Muyemba come in, and Zetsu, and that partnership was even better. And now you have Muyemba, and as it looks, I think if you had to start it right now, it's Jay Fortune.
Yeah.
And maybe Sleege comes in. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe you find somebody to play that position. But Franco Ibarra was really good. Tom, Atlanta moved Barry to LAFC.
That was an AM deal.
Yeah, that was a Atlanta sent him over there for some AM deal. Atlanta United legend Miguel Barry one of the greatest solo strikes we've ever seen.
Yes.
Of like, hey, you're only going to score one goal here, but it's going to be like replayed on Taise for a while. Otherwise, you're just going to run around a lot.
Yeah.
But the sorry, right straight up. Is just an AM deal that Atlanta just squirreling away more money for the winter. But yeah, man, about it, I don't know. Maybe they don't think he fits in with Muyumba in that style. But you also free up potentially either going to get another. You might go get another U22 guy depending on how things go, because you have the Santi Sosa rumors out there.
Yes.
And both of them make sense to me in that, like, Santi more so to Argentina, just because it still feels like Santi is a chance to go kind of refresh.
Yeah.
He was very, very good that first year in Atlanta. He fell off, and combined that with a number of injuries, and it felt like, you know what, you need to go hit the reset button.
Yeah.
And if you're comfortable, let's go somewhere where you're comfortable to hit the reset button, because you weren't getting minutes here. He's a good kid. I think he'll be fine. And Franco Ibarra is a good kid, and I think he'll be fine. Again, it's an option with a loan with an option to buy. I would assume this is the last we see of them in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And thanks for the memories, bud. Franco Ibarra's attempts to remove the soul from so many people will not be forgotten in quick order, but it gives you flexibility, and because of these draconian rules that are in place that are stupid, now if you operate the way it is, you have Mosquera still on a DP deal, and it is funny that we are sitting here on December 3rd, 2024, going, man, of like all the U22s that Atlanta kept, it's Edwin Mosquera, and it's the right damn move, because oh my God.
Yeah.
He was just trouble off the bench last year.
Woo.
But you're also in a position now that if you end up having to move a DP, like move Thiago Almada, if someone comes in tomorrow with an offer that you like, that gets him out, you can go sign any DP you want. You're not limited because of U22 stupidities.
Yes. So looking at our LPF standings from the 2023 season, River Plate, 11 points clear. Talleres, San Lorenzo, Lanús was fourth. Estudiantes had to go to goals scored to be in fifth over our friends at Defensa. Lanús had to go to goals scored to beat Estudiantes and for fourth. Defensa was sixth. Boca was seventh on goal difference, which was crazy. Rosario Central, by the way, finishing eighth in the standings. Then you had Godoy Cruz, Juniors, Atletico Tucumán, Racing Club, Belgrano. Newell's finishing 14th, which is mid-table, considering everybody and your club is in the LPF. It was Abraca Central, Tigre Platense, Instituto Cordoba, Sarmiento, Unión Santa Fe, Bonfield, Gimnasia La Plata, Central Cordoba, Independiente, Vélez finishing 25th, Huracán, Colón de Santa Fe, and Arsenal Sarandí wrapping it up. But, yeah, and Independiente, by the way, apparently they were supposed to go on tour for the preseason. They sent out a note yesterday saying we can't, because it sounds like the organizers of this tour where they were coming to America came across a little bit more than sketchy. So the Independiente preseason tour of the U.S. got wiped off the board yesterday. But that's the four right now with it, where Atlanta United is concerned, and yes, Galaxy.
Rich, I love you. Happy New Year, Rich.
Yes.
I hope you're well. Thank you for giving me this gift today.
Yeah. Real quick, just to mop it up, Barry's rights, the player rights, went from Atlanta to LAG for a natural second-round pick in the Super Draft. So Rich is in this morning, and so here we go. Got a thing for Jarrett. Over the weekend, Kai Wagner was rumored to go to Rangers, and a Rangers fan account said they didn't want him on the team because Wagner played in MLS and the SPFL is a higher level than MLS. Obviously, we in Philadelphia laughed at this. I could understand Rangers and Celtic are at a higher level, but if they think Motherwell could best Colorado is hilarious.
Thank you so much. Because I have to leave soon.
Please break down the SPFL versus MLS comparison, sir.
It's Old Firm and everybody else. Like, Old Firm's going to give you a fight. They're probably going to beat a bunch of MLS teams to spend more on players. Rangers is an interesting one right now because I think Clement is a good manager and he's doing good work. But here's the thing, man. Rangers, after they made the Europa League final 2 years ago, they really spent a lot. They had outgoings, but they haven't had, like, amazing incoming signings. Like, Malik Tillman was the one guy. That was a loan. And he was good, but he also didn't necessarily show up the way you want in big games. Which, young player, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, man, like, Scotland doesn't spend a bunch of money. The quality's not good. The game, how y'all feel about the way the game should be played also is going to impact this because a lot of Scotland is sit back and, like, bunker and counter when we can.
Aberdeen Crean, baby.
Aberdeen Crean. They were not okay with Stephen Glass trying to play with the ball. The only people who were uncomfortable with Stephen Glass playing with the ball, frankly, were Celtic and Rangers because those were the best games that he had as a manager in Aberdeen for my money.
Mm-hmm.
Were when he played teams that wanted the ball because then he was able to try and fight for possession, and Aberdeen was able to counter press, and they looked good doing it. But then they go back to Aberdeen's kind of back to this sit back and counter. And then when two of those teams play together, one team will kind of try and dominate the other one. Oh my God. But the Old Firm does operate in this illusion. This is not unusual. They do operate under this delusion that that this is still the 70s, or that this is still the late 60s if you're Celtic, and that Jock is running things, and that you're a world power when you're not. Yeah, they'll compete with MLS teams. Frankly, I just watched Rangers play a very listless and dumb Celtic team to a 2-1 loss.
Oh my God.
They could use Kai Wagner.
Yeah.
They would be better.
Yeah.
They would be a better team, and I believe they have European games lined up in going forward. So, thank you for that, because, man, I'm always amused by the stupidity and the arrogance that exists in the Rangers and Celtic universe. Because they operate like they are operating above their means a lot of times. And GG was an example.
He's
like, it wasn't too good for Alistair Johnson.
Yeah.
To go to Celtic. So I mean.
Celtic scored 2 goals, I think, in the first 6 minutes yesterday against St. Mirren, and that was pretty painful after that. Yeah, Jim Goodwin, by the way, is who we're referring to as Aberdeen Crean. Goodwin had 6 more matches than Stephen Glass, played an entirely different way. I mean, we're talking like 180 degrees of a different way than Stephen Glass does. Glassy was 9-6-14. Goodwin, 6 more matches, only 2 more wins. 11-7-17.
It was not fun either, man. Like,
no.
They started, and the thing was, Aberdeen started like shipping goals left and right with him at the end of it, and some of it I think comes down to Aberdeen spending as well.
Yeah,
and they did not replace the defense the way they needed to, and that's been an issue not just during that tenure in 2021 or 2022, excuse me, but I think it's an issue that is continued even into the current era for them.
Yeah, and they, what Glassy had set up as a system was bringing in young talent. I mean, bringing in talent to play the way that he wanted, but also nurturing young talent and selling them on so you could reinvest. and do the same thing over and over again. And, it's strange what happens when you develop young talent. People come knocking on your door, and they want these guys that you can sit there and say, okay, we'll move them on. We want a percentage of the pass, but we're going to invest and reinvest and do the same thing over and over again.
And see, that's what Scottish teams should be doing, though. That's, they did that with Calvin Ramsey and Lewis Ferguson.
Yeah.
Celtic did that with Henderson. Forget his first name. Because there's 2 or 3 of them. There's brothers. But one of them went to, I think it was Bologna, and was just killing it. There's been this, as much as we talk about Atlanta finding the rail to the pipeline to second division France,
mm-hmm.
Italy has found the pipeline to Scotland, and so they're just importing these Scottish players. It's working very well for some of these Italian clubs.
Yeah. So, so Jim Goodwin had the same win percentage that Stephen Glass did in his time. And Glass's style of football was something that scared the ish out of Celtic and Rangers. And then the rest of the league was sitting there going, "Oh, we're just going to sit here. We're gonna bunker. We're gonna."
Well, yeah, the thing is, you didn't have the raw individual talent 1v1 consistently to beat those teams. You were dominating the ball. You were trying to dominate and break down these walls. And when you weren't able to do it, the defenders were not consistently good enough in dealing with counter situations, which is what you were going to deal with because teams don't want to come out and play in Scotland. But sure, yeah, you're I mean, to turn this into a diatribe on Aberdeen. But all that being said, sure. Yeah. Conor Wagner is not good enough for you. Sure.
Yeah, whatever. So do you turn into a pumpkin now, sir?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we will see you when we see you. And come on back.
Okay.
All right. That's Jarrett. And so, yeah, when Rich drops anything involving the SPFL, you know that we have to keep Jarrett to discuss this. So, nothing like the SPFL, or at least the top 2 in the SPFL, sitting there saying, "Oh no, we can't have these kinds of people here." Yeah, you can, because it'd make you better. So, very interesting there. Morning, Dell, across the board. So, good morning, Dell. Good morning, everybody that we missed. And Abby had to have a quick day with everything going on in her life right now. So, interesting stuff right now with Atlanta United. I know we go sideways a bit with anytime somebody gets mentioned like that. So, right now, that's where we stand. Drafting Derek Williams in re-entry, discussing Steen Gregerson, and it looks like it's getting closer. Daniil Maldonado being discussed to help out as a center back and an economical center back. Then Franco Ibarra moving on, looks like to Rosario Central. And once again, Mateus Osechu posting on his Instagram account a thank you to Atlanta United and to everyone associated with Atlanta United, fans included, for his time here. So it looks like Mateus Osechu's time with Atlanta United has gone. So that's where we are right now. It is Schlese, Gregerson, Maldonado, and Ibarra. And technically, since we didn't get to discuss it, Osechu. So those are the 5 moves / moments that we're kind of following right now. Osechu outbound, Ibarra outbound. Inbound, probably Gregerson. Inbound, keeping an eye on things, Bartosz Schlese. Inbound, keeping an eye on things with Daniil Maldonado. So those are the 5 that we're staring at right now. Jay Fortune. Unless you bring in, a defensive midfielder, it's Jay Fortune. Specifically someone who will be a 6. It's, that relationship that you saw with Jay. Jay's probably going to play a little deeper. Muyumba will come back and help out, and Muyumba will do his work defensively and offensively and run around all over the place. So it would be Jay Fortune. So we'll keep an eye. That would be the initial thought, unless you bring in someone who is more experienced. And so sort of Rossing. So, yeah, and so Alex at 6. So 3 out, three that we're looking inbound and 3 that are outbound. So that's where we are. So keep an eye on all that stuff. And then, once again, we are 3 days into the window. Anything is possible. And that's the beauty of the window. So we'll keep an eye on it for every single day. But yeah, we've got all these moves that are going on. Tom, you had mentioned Troy Lacine and the probability that it looks like Lacine would be the new head coach in DC. Troy Lacine. Okay. So Dell, who is in this morning, great coach, old friend from Charleston. Now, there is no disputing what Lacine can do. New Mexico United, and all of the time in USL Championship, and then having to deal with a virtually impossible situation with Red Bulls. That's Lacine. Thank you. I've heard it like 9 different times, 9 different ways. So when you look at DC and you have someone who was morning Harry, when you look at DC, and once again, this is not, and let me take this 2 separate ways. When Chris Armas was considered for DC United fans almost lost their ish. They lost their minds when the idea of a Red Bulls personnel, however you want to phrase it, when a Red Bulls coach was being considered for the DC United gig. Now, Troy may not count considering he was an interim and was an assistant, but I have yet to see anything from DC United folks that has been as radioactive as it was when Chris Armas was involved. Once again, Dell, I'm with you. I liked what we saw from him in a difficult situation and having to deal with all of the crap going on around him. But let me phrase it this way. You had all of these other guys that were out there. I mean, unless Troy won the interview, and I mean blew their doors off. Bruce Arena was out there. John Harkes was out there. Just as 2 names that off the top of my head. Yet you went the direction of Troy Lacine. So far, we're close. You go that direction instead of folks with ties. I am naturally inquisitive as to why you would go this direction. Tom Bogert broke this out yesterday. Why would you go this direction? Yes, he is financially viable, but why would you go this direction instead of other big names that are out there? And what was it about? And I know that coaches are malleable to personnel, but with Troy and how things are, no, we never did, Michael. We never did. Never found out. Never found out. Michael's asking if we ever found out what Arena did or did not do. No, we never did. Nope. I mean, and Dell, yeah, there's a stigma from the last gig. I mean, that is true. But once again, to Michael's point, we don't know what he did or did not do. And the idea of bringing in a Bruce Arena, it's just, it literally is the thought bubble. And it is all of that stuff that is going on, in your head. Literally you could be walking around and you'd have that thought bubble like we see in the cartoons. Why go in this direction? Well, and Harry, and once again, Harry and Dell, and Dome Tarrant was also a part of the discussion. Did great in the interview as well as being cheaper than Tarrant. And also, as we talk this through, that Dome is going to want to bring in players of a certain ideal. That Bruce is going to want to bring in players with a certain ideal to fit with what they want to do. Was Troy cool with the roster? And was he cool with just being a coach who has input when it comes to player personnel decisions? Instead of saying, I want my guy, bang, 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 It makes you wonder. It does make you wonder why you would go in this direction over Tarrant, Harks, Arena, whomever else might have been out there, Gio Savarese, whomever you would consider in these situations. I'd like to know the blow by blow as to why Troy ends up getting this gig if he does. Nothing's officially official, but it's pointing in this direction. Rich Lesane is actually a good coach, not in dispute. One, MLS rehashes coaches. They do. That's most of the franchises. They will recycle the same names. Yeah, most of the older franchises in this league, the 1.0s, they will try to look at the older names that have been around in the league a lot. Rich says, too, let's be honest, Harks and Arena were just flashbacks to get DC fans excited. No way to know if they would be good. No, but, I would posit with what John Harks built in Greenville that, I would like to see John Harks get an opportunity in a division higher than USL League One. I would think that he would have been a great idea in DC. With his pedigree and what he's been able to build, and then having a larger budget to build it with. So that would be my thought for bringing in a guy like John Harks. Harry, wonder if we see more coaches from D2 get calls up to Major League Soccer. Savarese from the NASL and Troy Lesane seem to be solid, more in USL Championship that can be better than a recycled coach. True. We talked about Danny Cruz from Louisville as one of the guys that, literally all you got to do is you turn to Jarrett and you go, Jarrett, Danny Cruz. Jarrett will go off on what he's been able to do at Lou City. I'd love to see a guy like that. Would absolutely love to see a guy like that. Dell said Troy learned in Charleston under Augie. Jeffries in Charlotte did great at New Mexico. Yeah, and like I said, New Mexico for me is my reference point for him as a head coach, meaning Lesane. New Mexico United for me is my reference point. I just hope that Troy didn't learn how to yell from Augie. Jeffries in Charlotte, great mentor. We've had Coach on for 1v1s in the past, so we've gotten a chance to catch up with Mike. And you would think that that Troy would be a malleable guy, looking at the personnel. Okay, I can do this, and this, instead of being locked in to what he was in a Red Bull system with Red Bull's folk. Maybe the fact that he could get the shackles released and actually do things that he wants in DC instead of being stuck to doing things in a Red Bullion kind of a way would be there. And this is a question, the next time that we have Kaylor Hodges and our friends from the USL show on, what I would want to ask them, and we're going to have to bookmark this topic because I'm not going to remember it. So what coaches from USL Championship and League One do you think could flourish in Major League Soccer. Dell is positioning for Ben Pierman in a year or two. I could, if Stephen Glass continues once again to build at Memphis 901, is he happy at Memphis 901? Does he want to go back home? What does he want to do? Danny Cruz at Lou City for me, absolutely. Let's see as I spin down here. The coach in San Antonio, the coach in Sacramento, do they want to go to the next level? The coach in Phoenix after, charging through the standings and coming through as a 6th seed. So, there are, to me, 4 or 5 that you could consider when it comes to the USL Championship. Dell's looking at Pierman in a year or two. Rich, yes. Union legend Danny Cruz. And Cruz learned under John Hackworth. So, yeah, but our first one on our list out of USL Championship is Danny Cruz. You're looking for somebody that could be totally, that we would look forward to seeing in Division I in Major League Soccer would be Danny Cruz. Seriously, I mean, and then you'd have to pay a pretty penny unless you waited until the season was over. If you needed to have Danny Cruz immediately, you'd probably have to pay a big release clause to our friends at Lou City to make sure that would happen. But yeah, we have mentioned Danny Cruz for a while with what he has been able to do, and see what's going on there. So we'll keep an eye on this. Well, and Rich, to your point, Rich is maybe thinking and maybe look at Next Pro for the next set of coaches. Look, Jack Collison at Huntsville is one that immediately comes to mind. And then you look at, Crew. Does Montreal even have a coach yet? I don't think they have a head coach. They're still trying to figure that out, aren't they? With with what you've got with Columbus Crew 2 and with what they've been able to build. You see their successes and you're wondering, okay, you have that kind of a head coach in Laurent Courtois. So Laurent Courtois, to me, out of Next Pro, considering what we've seen from Crew 2, that would be one to look at in Next Pro, along with Jack Collison. And Harry, thank you for doing far better than I am with the names. Yes, Alan Marcina in San Antonio, Mark Briggs, Juan Guerra, absolutely. Those are the ones that stuck in my brain when it comes to folks to keep an eye on in USL Championship. You've mentioned Pierman, I've mentioned Cruz. So, 5, 6, half dozen guys to keep an eye on when it comes to Stephen Glass to keep an eye on when it comes to going from USL Championship to the next level. Those would be the guys that I would keep an eye on. Then, you look at, the franchises in League One, you'd have to sit there and try and see, okay, who's done incredibly well there. Is it, I would have said Jay Mims, but Mims left Union Omaha last year. Keep an eye on somebody like an Eamon Zayed in a couple of years, not immediately, but with what Zayed has been able to do in a short time at Northern Colorado. So there are names in the lower divisions to look at, so we can not have the recycling of names and the vacancies that are there. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. Mario Sanchez, speaking of Racing Louisville, the NWSL, Mario Sanchez is now technical director and assistant coach. Let's see what we can look at quickly domestically before we end up turning the page and going overseas. There's a big article from David Ornstein et al. Over at The Athletic about the Rooney exit. We'll get into that. Like I said, we'll get into FFP. We'll get into Everton. Ropes and Nottingham Forest and picking up a big highfalutin lawyer. Gotham FC. And Tom, I do want to get into your heads up yesterday about the article in World Soccer Talk about the NWSL versus USL Super League idea. I don't think it's a versus. We'll go through the article, but I don't think it should be a versus. I think that, like I said, and like I might just be a guy that wants to sit here and just say, look, find your way, do things your way. Don't worry about everybody else. Find your niche, find out what works for you, and everything's cool. Don't worry about what's going on around you. Just focus on you. And that's why if I'm the NWSL, I've got a head start on the USL Super League. I've got a head start. If I'm the NWSL, I'm focusing on me. New TV deal, all these kinds of things. Focus on my growth. Be supportive of the USL Super League. And everything's cool. Absolutely everything's cool. And for the first time in 2024, we bring in Nick. And this is going to be good. Welcome, sir.
Hi, morning.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. It's been busy.
Yeah, you've been like flying around all over the place and trying to figure out what's going on. Waiting to see if Dylan Butler will join us here on a Wall Pass Wednesday, but there were two topics that I wanted to address with you. And with Dylan, if he drops in this morning, it would be about 2024 predictions, stuff on the wall, and maybe his beloved Newcastle. What I wanted to discuss with you were the two big topics out of Serie A. And I know a lot of folks may sit there and they get lost in the sauce about, okay, here's a document and hey, here's an owner. I know that there were things that you were looking at with Redbird Capital and with a particular document that the Italian government was not going to renew. So what's been going on there? And I wanted to save that until you visited so we could get the better explainer with what's going on.
Right. So a couple of things going on in Serie A right now. Number one is, and I'm going to start with the document because that, in my opinion, leads to the Redbird part of the program.
Right.
And that is that for a period of time now, the Italian government has made it very easy for foreigners and for Italians who have been living abroad for, I think, more than 3 years to come back to Italy to ply your trade through a series of tax incentives. And so you had a greatly reduced tax burden if you were, let's say, Christian Pulisic or Weston McKennie or any of the other players who were coming into Serie A from representing another country. To have that opportunity meant that is twofold effect. One, that you were getting what was thought to be better players because you had the best chance at making and keeping money than just about anywhere else in Europe. And then also that it would mean that Italian teams would be more competitive. That means that, we talk about coefficients and everything else. And that means that you're more likely to see Italian teams in European competition, which means more money, which means better fiscal health for the clubs overall. And Happy New Year, Alex. Hope you're doing well. But there's been talk as of late that the Italian government is going to remove those protections. And that has Serie A owners freaking out, justifiably. You have players who have come in when you thought that was not going to happen. You thought like, oh, wow, I can't believe we're getting these players in here. This is amazing. Because what they're really trying to do is recapture the magic of Serie A in the 90s when you had players from all over Europe going to Italy to ply their trade, playing the absolute best football available, playing in the best competitions, winning Champions Leagues, being in a country where there's great food, there's great weather. You're not being completely harassed and harangued every day by the media. Yes, Italian media is nuts. They're crazy.
They harass and harangue. What?
Yeah, but they're not hacking your cell phones like they do in England. So it's just a better quality of life, and that's not happening, right? I mean, you're getting modest increases, but who is really winning in this new world? The U.S. men's national team's winning because you're getting players who previously would not have been given a sniff in Italy, and they're not just playing well; they're thriving, right? But what you're not seeing is a dramatic increase of in the quality of play of the Italian national team. So who's winning is the question that's being bantered around, right? It's like, okay, so everyone else is winning. People from Czech Republic are winning. People from Hungary, or from Hungary or Turkey are winning. The Americans are winning, but we're not. So why should we keep this going? Which leads to part two of this, is that you have a lot of owners of recently who are from the United States who have bought into Serie A because of the old financial distress model, right? So you have assets that are financially distressed. You can get them for a really good price with proper management, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You should be able to turn a profit pretty quickly. Well, yeah, but part of that is being able to get quality players to come in to be a part of it. And with this tax incentive allegedly going off the table, that becomes infinitely more difficult to do. So you have somebody like Jerry Cardinale of Redbird, who, if you believe some very reputable sources, is entertaining selling AC Milan to various different entities who have, whether it's in the Middle East or elsewhere. And it makes sense. I think Jerry believes he's probably taken this team as far as it's going to go. He's got one Scudetto. He had a Champions League, semifinal appearance. I think he recognizes that you're not getting too much more blood out of this turnip than what he's gotten so far. But, and Rich says it best here, and yet can't build a stadium, right? I mean, but that's the problem, is that, if there's anything that would keep Jerry from selling it, it's the San Donato Stadium project that allegedly has been signed off by the San Donato municipal government and the team. If you look around Italy, the newest stadium is up in Turin, occupied by Juventus. The only reason that was able to get done is because the Agnellis carry so much clout up in that town that they could say, hey, we're building this new stadium. Get on board, or we're going to start pulling strings with Fiat. Yep, new stadium's approved. Have a great day. No other team has that ability. None. No other team has the ability to pull the financial strings of a municipality quite like Juventus does. And they're not even the most popular team in town there, by the way.
No.
But you haven't had any major stadium upgrades since the World Cup in Italy. So, what do you plan to do? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these American owners. If they start seeing that it's going to be more difficult to get players coming in, that it's still, as always, and virtually impossible to get new stadiums built. What happens with Roma? What happens with everyone else?
All right. And so now that we bookmarked that, it's time to bring in Dylan, because it is, Wednesdays with Dylan. So morning, Dylan.
Good morning, guys.
Nick was letting everybody know about what's going on with the craziness in Serie A. I know that.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things to hear is Nick's deep dives into Serie A. But not to get maybe too deep into this, Nick, but it breaks my heart, because my first introduction, and I'm absolutely dating myself here, my first introduction to the sport that we love was Serie A on Sunday mornings, on like one of the like public stations in Italian. Like Maradona was playing for Napoli, and that's kind of where I just started. I didn't know the language. I learned it through football, and just love to watch the game there. And I feel sadly kind of disconnected from it. Like it feels like it's kind of fallen behind in the, NBC picks up the Premier League and it's this language and the stadiums and then, even a little bit of Germany with Fox. Like, I know that, I think, what is it? Well, Paramount had it, right? I think ESPN now has it, but like, it's sad to me. Like I loved Serie A back in the like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, well, Paramount thankfully has it now. ESPN had it for a minute. They did okay with the coverage. I think the deal that they cut with BN was disastrous. They would say, okay, well, it's Roma, Napoli at 2 p.m. and you would put on any of the BN channels and it would be like, Uzbekistan tennis league or something like that. I mean, it was like, well, hold up, we're bouncing Roma and Napoli for this, but it's it is. They've cut terrible deal after terrible deal, and they're paying the price for it now. Unfortunately, bad investments, bad money. But thankfully we are following a league that maybe is going the opposite route with the path not taken and not spending more money when they easily could.
Certainly getting stadiums built and having a pretty good TV deal, that's for sure.
Dylan Butler Estates being built in New York, getting ready for NYC. Nick was just letting us know about the documentation that is being put aside by the Italian government now about bringing in higher priced talent, shielding them from taxes, and Jerry Cardinale and Redbird. And so Serie A is not quite MLS is not quite the mess that Serie A is. It has its points. Dylan,
and by the way, sorry to cut you off, John. Nick, my first favorite player. You won't like this because of the team, but Walter Zenga, that was my guy.
I understand. I get it.
Oh, former Revs keeper.
Listen, see, I should just let the two of you keep going about Serie A because this is funny for me. The fact that the two of you can go on Serie A and do Serie A down here for soccer over there, I'm not going to.
I would pick up the what was it? God, I can't remember the name of the paper because again, obviously it's in Italian, and I didn't know any Italian. I didn't even study Italian. It was in high school. I didn't even study Italian, but I would pick up the paper just to sort of like see the different, pictures and try to figure out some of the language just because it was soccer. It was at the time it was unheard of here.
Okay, yeah. So Dell's got a question. Dell listens and watches out of Charleston, so he's big in the USL Championship discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Dell needs to find a Serie A team to follow, mainly a Premier League guy, but it's not as fun to watch as other leagues. So, Dell, what kind of personality are you when it comes to the teams that you follow?
Like, what's your football NFL team or your college football team, or like that would help to probably.
Yeah, so we need to have the personality discussion about Dell and who do you follow now? What personality do you follow? What kind of a fan are you? Are you the lovable loser guy? Do you want to be the guy at the top of the table? Do you follow folks at the bottom? Okay, so here's Dell's answer. Here's Dell. Dell says Clemson. He gave up on the Carolina Panthers, and nothing like fining your owner $300,000 for throwing a drink on it. Which was the equivalent of like $1.77 of his fortune. Atlanta United and Manchester United. So
these are big clubs. These are big teams.
Okay, so Clemson, Atlanta United, Manchester United. So there you go. So what would you guys recommend for Dell to start following with our friends at Paramount Plus and our friend Poppy Miller?
Dell, are you a renegade? That's what we need to know. Are you a renegade or are you a blue blood? If you're a blue blood, you're probably going to be going for one of the more northern Italian teams. So
I was kind of thinking Juve.
Oh God! Well, I don't want to subject. Why do we want to subject a man to criminality, Dylan? We cannot put him with in the league of such disreputable gentlemen.
Okay, so he doesn't want a top team.
He doesn't want a top team. Okay, in that case, I would suggest one up and coming. Oh man! All right.
See, you got Nick thinking now.
Well, the problem is that Napoli has been they won a Scudetto, but they are like boom and bust. So you are either going to be pulling your hair out, or you are going to be, all in with Aurelio De Laurentiis as he wages war against the upper echelon, the upper crust of Serie A. So it's. I mean, you're probably looking at like Sassuolo. If you want an up and coming team, Atalanta's good. They're like, what makes Atalanta good is I don't know if there's anyone who is more fiscally responsible yet fun to watch is Atalanta.
Okay.
Atalanta could be that. So they're going to, Atalanta could be good. That could be a good neutral. I can't wish Juve on anyone. Roma is a team that you're going to be frustrated more often than not because they're like always going to be like 7, 8, 9 territory. You do have Bologna, which is flying higher than I think they ever have before. Fiorentina. You have Rocco Commisso who owns that team. The fact that they're sitting at 4 right now is absolutely nuts, but you have to wear purple. Up to you. I mean, Clemson wears purple. Clemson wears purple. Okay. So, Florence is a beautiful city, fantastic food. They're a team that Commisso's invested a lot of cash, 60 million euro training facility. Outside of Florence, that's a good one to go with. Torino is an old school team that is just heartbreaking history. But I
think you might have got him on Fiorentina with the purple.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, and an owner who's very, very quiet, who doesn't like to be in the news. So,
Rocco.
Oh man, Dylan, welcome to silly season in Major League Soccer, huh?
Yes.
Who still does not have a manager? DC, but we're kind of close because we were talking about Troy Lesesne this morning.
Yeah,
and
Montreal,
who if you're chasing after folks, you might end up going to Columbus Crew 2, or because you're going to want to have somebody who's going to put up with Joey Saputo's ish, but. A former Red Bulls coach going to DC. This seems like you're crossing the streams if this comes to pass.
Yeah, it's it makes me sad a little bit because that I followed this league long enough to remember how fiercely fought that rivalry was, and I feel like even player movement. You're like, what? He's going from like I think what was it? Who
Well, but you had Chris Armas mentioned, and they lost their minds.
Was Petke both playing for both? I think maybe. But you would have like Richie Williams, like you'd have these old school guys like who would play for both, and people like, what, you traitor, like. And it's not what it it's not what it was, unfortunately. So it's an interesting one. Again, I'm not speaking really from too much like insider knowledge, but I do know that they're not. I think they're looking economically at that. Let's put it that way. So I think I think a Troy Lesesne would probably fit the wage bill. Let's say for that
economically job. Feasible is what we're
correct.
Okay, and not a Bruce Arena or a John Harkes idea.
Yeah, I think Harksey would have, but certainly Bruce would have been more, and I think Harksey would have been as well.
Okay. Nick, for Dylan Butler, You can go any direction you want. You can keep your discussion going or talk Major League Soccer since you opened that door.
No. We'll keep it. We'll keep it in the wheelhouse here with Major League Soccer. The biggest question here in my mind is going to be Inter Miami.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have the league of geriatric gentlemen, kind
Messi and friends, yes,
congregating down there. Over or under on games in which the entire Death Star will be operational due to injuries and or nagging ailments.
So all what do we have? 4 now? 4 of those guys?
Sure, why not?
The Fab Four. Let's see.
I figure
I'm only going league games. I'm not going to count. Well, I don't know. I'll go all around. So they'll probably play 40. Let's say 5 games.
Yeah.
Right around there.
Yeah.
Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
Probably playoffs.
Yeah.
I will put the number for all 4 together at 20.
Well, and I figure what they're going to do. I figure that you're going to see them. You're going to see Messi and friends early on as much as possible, and I think they're going to try to rack up as many points as possible out of the blocks, and then try to hang on. Try to make it like they're working a pro rel deal out of like League One or something. Get out to the hot start. And then knowing that they're going to have to manage, especially when you get into the summer months where you're playing 3 in a week plus competitions, then you're not going to see them. So like late in the year, if you've got a team that's going to be playing Messi and friends in your barn, don't bank on seeing all 4 of them.
Especially if you have turf.
Yes. Well, I mean,
Messi will play on it, but
yeah,
there's no way Suarez will.
Yeah. I don't know how Suarez's knee. I mean, his knees would collapse like a neutron star the minute he touched it. So Dylan, who's going to defend for them? Yeah. It just seems like it's Calendar in the back between the sticks, like, running the rosary every time the ball gets past midfield.
Yeah, that's the big question. And listen, if they play games, if they have 6-4 games, I'm all for that.
Well, that's the thing. Take the over. I think that's probably the safest play on the board this year with Messi and friends is take the over. That's got to be.
That seems to be the easiest gamble in sports right now. What is it? It's a 3.5. Yeah. We'll take the over.
And now they're talking about Marcus Rojo being added to the mix. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out the NIL deals to where they got all these folks in there. Everybody was like, okay, Jorge Mas is executive of the year and all this kind of stuff. No, David Beckham is executive of the year, bringing all these folks in. He's just basically telling the Mas brothers, okay, spend money on this guy, spend money on this guy, spend money on this guy. David Beckham should be executive of the year, or Chris Anderson.
Did you guys see the Netflix?
I have not.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. So Nick, you'll appreciate this at the end. Like he's now the owner, right? And he's kind of like looking at different players, and I think it was Neymar, and he's like, "Yeah, he'll play for me one day. Like he's gonna play for me." He was. I don't know if that was pre. I think it was just after Messi, but he was. You're right. I mean, listen, this. He brought a lot of new fans to soccer in the U.S., and now he's bringing a lot of household names this way as well now. As an owner.
Nick, what has it been like for David Beckham to bring in all these names?
Oh, see, here's the thing, though. I've retired the voice.
Retired.
And here's
you
why.
You could have had Gary Smith talking to him.
Yeah. Here's why I've retired the voice. After the Netflix feature, when I saw the behind the scenes on how much absolute abuse that man took, I was like, I can't do it anymore. My heart's not in it. I just, when he's having to hide out with the Spice Girls backstage at Madison Square Garden because they're like coming to kill him in England, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm all right on that. And then he's a beekeeper, dude. Like, yeah. I can't, a fellow honey junkie I can't, because I am a little known fact about me. I am a huge honey junkie,
I was not aware of this.
and I cannot go after in good faith one of my fellow honey junkies. So Bex, and he did Islands in the Stream. Okay, with this lovely lady. They're doing Islands in the Stream. They're dancing. They have their own little coordinated dance happening.
Nick, do you have a similar closet to his?
I do not. I wish to God I had a similar closet. I do not. My wife would be thrilled if I had a similar closet to his. But that is not the case. The issue that I have right now is that, and it's not a bad thing, right? It's great for the league, I think. And Dylan, please feel free to jump in on this. And John, I think, used an appropriate term: name, image, and likeness. The NIL, right? It's making money elsewhere, right? Not just through your abilities on the field. And I think there's nobody in the league who is as adept at making money off the field as David Beckham is, maximizing your image and your brand. So, when we ask, well, where the hell is Miami getting this money from? It helps when you have an executive like Beckham, who is unbelievably brilliant at marketing himself, and he can pass along that knowledge to these guys. And plus, you have the businessman himself, Mr. Messi, who can bring in anyone else that he wants to his under his marketing umbrella. So that double punch is an issue for the league because nobody else can match up with that. And I think that's something that goes under the radar. Shockingly, it goes because they're just like, oh, it's direct payments. No, man.
No.
People who can market themselves and are experts in this. Dylan, please back me up on this.
No, it's 100%. And you even look back at his original playing deal, right, with the Galaxy, right? Like, it was so layered and complex, and obviously what Messi has is even more than that. But yeah, listen, that's been his, if you watch the documentary, from, he was always about the football, but he pretty early in life recognized, that as an important factor, right? Like the brand, right? And brand is so important in this world of ours, not just the soccer world, right? So, no, I agree 100%. I think, look, I think, like you said, if you I don't know, I'm not suggesting, right? But I'm just, if you're like a Mo Salah, right? And you're like contemplating a move, you're like, well, first of all, I could play with Messi. Beckham's an owner. I've holidayed, as they would say, probably in Miami, or I'd like to. Oh, look at those beautiful houses. Wait, what's the temperature? Okay, yeah, I could do this. So I it's funny too, because that was what was always the case with LA, right? And like you even heard Beckham and his wife, they were like, or she was, especially because she was going from a nightmare in Spain to like, oh, LA, yeah, I can live there. Like I can do this. And then like, next thing you know, Tom Cruise is like throwing a party for them. So.
Right. And that's, if you go over to Europe and you talk to them and they say, oh, America. Yeah. What are they mentioning? New York, Miami, Los Angeles, right? Atlanta does not get mentioned in that. Chicago, if you're dealing with someone who is trying to go a layer or two down, great. But nobody's talking about, oh man, I cannot wait to go live in Atlanta. I cannot wait to go live in Dallas, Texas. I mean, they want to meet the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, don't get me wrong, but
what is Commerce City like?
Yeah, exactly. There's no one who says that. What about Sheboygan? Can you tell me a bit more about Sheboygan? Or, what about Seattle? Is Seattle doing it? No, it's New York, Miami, Los Angeles. And when they experience the weather in Miami and Los Angeles, yeah, you're not beating that.
So here's the breakdown of the NIL deal that Messi got to start Messi and Friends. And Dell's asking if Messi was going to get a franchise. Messi gets a piece of the action in Miami as a part of this deal. Ownership stake. He gets salary of 20 mil, a base of 12, total guaranteed compensation just over 20. Ownership stake of the club. with advertising and image rights talks going, and this was before everything signed, but NIL with Apple, Adidas, and others. Michelle Kaufman, back in June of last year, factored in all aspects of the deal beyond just purely the salary. Deal is worth 125 to 150 million, so basically 4 to 5 million a month. Capology tabbed his salary at being worth 54 million a year total, 3-year total of 162. So that's what Messi is getting with this NIL deal of biblical proportions to be in Miami, Dylan.
And imagine what he would have gotten in was it Saudi Arabia, right? Was after him?
Yeah. I mean, what? Benzema's getting 200, and it's a 3-year deal for that. So he could, and there was the discussion about Benzema going to Los Angeles, that he's already mad about being 8th or 9th in the table and getting into fights with Nuno. We know who's going to win that one. And so Benzema's already looking to get out, but I could see, somebody like that who would be younger, but not Benzema, who I think is 36 or 37 right now. 2-year deal. I got my 200. I'm out. I'm going to Major League Soccer. But this is the wave of the future.
And you know what, too? It is 100%. But I think, and another reason I would suggest people to watch the Beckham documentary is because you get into the mind space of one of these athletes, but also their parents, and they've got families, and yes, they're still recognized, obviously, in the United States, but look, the media scrutiny isn't what you'll get when you play for Real Madrid or when you play for Manchester United or the English national team, right? So I think those are certainly factors as well. So I think that you recognize that, and how I guess tired or frustrated that the Beckhams were with all of that, in Spain as well, right? So like the move to LA, and let's be honest, it was a league at the time. Obviously, look, there were pretty heavy shots taken at MLS in the documentary.
Yeah.
It's not the league that it was, obviously, when Beckham was playing in it.
And they still have issues when it comes to cap, letting media know what the cap is, what they're allowed to spend on U22 versus DP. And, you can have all your U22s if you don't use your DPs. And Jarrett made this point in the first hour of, you need to stop that. It's like, look, have your U22s, have your DPs. Don't make one dependent on the other. There are still issues here when you've got Inter Miami pushing the envelope with NIL deals, bringing in superstar mega talents, and you still have a league that wants to do things to hold themselves back financially. It's like they're open to doing things one way, but then the commonsensical stuff, they're still a little slow in bringing.
I need to push back a little bit on that.
Sure,
just a little bit.
Yeah,
and this is where I think I'm going to incur a lot of wrath here.
You incurring wrath? Never.
But if one thing COVID showed us, it really pulled back the veil on the financials of these major, quote unquote, major clubs. Mm-hmm. And the gap that exists between the nation state owned clubs, no matter how they have it set up, and what we used to consider big clubs, major clubs. Yeah. Right. Manchester United is still one of the, without question, from a marketing perspective, the biggest club in the world. You could touch down anywhere in the world and say Manchester United, and somebody's going to go, I know that name. Yeah. Right. You could be at 27,000 feet in Nepal and someone's going to know Manchester United and probably name off 2 or 3 players. However, the margins that these clubs run on are so razor thin that it is easy to find yourself in a position where, if you're like Inter, and I'm not just taking shots at Inter because it's Inter, because Milan has, we could go on for an hour about the financial problems that Milan had. You have Inter right now where there are allegations that their owner is being chased for $300 million in bad loans.
Yeah.
Right. Yang Hong Lee, who used to own AC Milan, ran that club with monopoly money. He couldn't make the interest payments. Right. So what happened? Elliott came in to buy them. And now they are legitimately running Moneyball out of what was once one of the biggest clubs in the world. If you look around all of Europe, you have Chelsea throwing good money after bad. And, everybody's like, what are we doing? I don't know. Spend more money, and everyone's trying to keep up with the nation state clubs. MLS right now may be seeing something that the rest of us as fans are not seeing by saying, hey, look, we need to keep the restrictor plates on.
Mm-hmm.
Can they run it in a more clear fashion? Absolutely. Do they need to, in my opinion, put in a salary floor to get the poor boys out of here? Yes, 100%. However, I think that we need a cap in this league because the rest of these clubs are running engines on nitrous and they're going to burn them up and they're going to go bankrupt. And they're all trying to keep up with the unobtainable, which is Saudi money, Qatari money, money from Dubai, all over the place. You can't keep up with that money. So be fiscally responsible, protect people from themselves sometimes, make the rules clear. That's great. No problems. But I have no problem with the cap in place. Make it a little more clear. That's all I'm going to say about it.
No, this is not Serie A breaking news. Tom Bogert, Tommy Scoops over at The Athletic. Miles Robinson has his destination, and it's FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati has signed Miles Robinson. Sources briefed on the deal tell The Athletic, a.k.a. Tom Bogert. And this is the copy that Tom has written. Robinson considered the top MLS free agent available after his contract with Atlanta United expired following the 23 season, and as such represents an important signing for the reigning Supporters' Shield champs. Atlanta made an offer to keep the center back that would have been at the maximum level allowed while using TAM, so it was a high TAM deal, which is what we've been told, as first reported by TT. Actually, it was local, but okay. However, sources say Robinson's camp was looking for a deal more aligned with Walker Zimmerman's DP deal in Nashville. That was basically $2 million a year with guaranteed and compensation over the top. The deal in Cincinnati will not be that level. So he did not make his desired number when it came to his deal. Several other MLS teams interested in signing him as well. Robinson joins a backline anchored by Matt Miazga. We don't know how many games Matt will be playing because he'll lose it at least once. Favorites in 2024, according to Tommy Scoops. So Miles got the lighting in and around the stadium at TQL. He got recruited. It's not what he wanted, but he's going to Cincinnati. So Dylan Butler, before we let you go, since we've kept you long over, and the fourth has held up the sign, and we have passed that. Miles to FC Cincinnati, but he's not going to get what he wanted financially.
Yeah, interesting there, right? Because, you're closer to it than I am, but my understanding always was thinking, or at least hoping, Europe. But that didn't happen. And that seems to be difficult for, I don't know, American center backs. I mean, Miazga is another example, right? Where goes from Red Bull, never played a second for Chelsea, right? Banged around lower levels on loans and came back here. As far as this move, I can't say I'm surprised. Cincinnati was seemingly always like the team. They apparently want all the center backs. Mm-hmm. So they just want to accumulate, it's like Monopoly. They just want to, keep getting all these center backs. Perhaps, John, you said it somewhat in jest, but is this an insurance policy as well?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, listen, for Cincinnati, great move. For Miles Robinson, you would figure it's if you're in his camp, you're like you said, you hoped, you swung big and didn't get quite what you wanted, but certainly a cup contender there. And Atlanta, you knew that they read the tea leaves the entire time, right, with the moves that they have been making. And I'm sure you've talked about, the replacement that is coming in for Miles Robinson.
Yeah, and we've this morning we mentioned that they drafted Derek Williams in re-entry. They are close apparently on Gregerson coming from Bordeaux. They're looking at Daniel Maldonado, who was at LAFC last year, and they are looking at Schlees from Legia Warsaw to help out in the midfield. So there are names that are being bandied about to plug in here. Miles last year, base of 1.4, compensation guaranteed 1.437, and Walker Zimmerman. So Miles was making 1.4. Walker Zimmerman's base 1.8, guaranteed compensation put him over $2 million. That's what Miles wanted. Miles wanted Walker Zimmerman money. So basically 1.4, so 4 over 14. He wanted a 30% increase basically in his base salary to match.
So do I. So do you.
Yeah.
So does Nick.
Yeah. And so he wanted a 30% increase in his salary to, let's just say, meet the Walker Zimmerman 1.8. He's not going to get that, and he's still going to Cincinnati. So no word yet, obviously. Salary figures won't be out forever and a day, but looking for 1.8. Guaranteed compensation for Walker was north of 2. Miles was getting 1.4.
But I'm interested in, and we won't know, I don't think. There are some good reporters out your way, but I'm not sure we'll ever find out what the Atlanta offer was then.
Yeah, I mean, high TAM, whatever that translates into. So it was a high TAM deal was what they were going to give Miles.
Is that 1.6? Is it?
Don't know.
Could it have even been 1.8 and he turned it down looking for more and then kind of realized I can't kind of go backwards after saying peace out and went elsewhere.
Yeah, and you're not going to get the 1.8/2.0 going to Cincinnati. So, maybe the market was leaning in one direction and Miles and his camp were like, well, we better get this now or we're really not going to get what we were looking for, and it would really be a big hit.
Yeah, I kind of read the tea leaves was bad, I guess.
Yeah, that's the only thing that we can think of right now. So nothing like leaving you with breaking news, Dylan. But what's going on with you and OSDB and MLS soccer now that you've got breaking news on a Wednesday?
Yeah. A busy one for sure. Yeah, no, it's silly season's always interesting and will remain so. I think for OSDB, after last or this past Monday, New Year's Day, kind of looking at the top stories as we talked about last week in 2023, I think we'll look forward and to the big things to look forward to this year, whether it's in MLS, whether it's in the American soccer landscape, the Olympics for both the men and women, I think is going to be interesting. Copa America on our shores, so a lot kind of to look forward to in 2024. So that will be that. And for Varsity Media, back on the call. It's been wow, I feel like it's been a long time, but hoop season. So little basketball action on Friday night in the Long Island Catholic League, St. John the Baptist Holy Trinity on Varsity Media on the YouTubes. And good one on Tuesday, by the way. St. Ray's in the Bronx against Stepanak from White Plains. Stepanak has probably one of the cooler name guys around, Boogie Flans.
Boogie Flans?
Yeah, Boogie Fland. Boogie Fland. Going to Kentucky. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, Kentucky recruit on one side, some D1 guys on the other side. Nice rivalry action. So that'll be Tuesday, 6:30. Boogie Fland, the defending champions at Stepanak against St. Raymond's.
Sounds like a dancing amusement park.
One day, Dylan, we're going to have a conversation about LIU Brooklyn and their epic tournament run from like 2012. How that almost led me to having the best bracket in the nation. I will always love the Blackbirds as a result of that.
Yeah, LIU, and kind of what's become of that. It's that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, it is. Dylan, thanks for coming on and staying an added time this morning, and we will catch up with you next week, my friend, because since we're in silly season, we got ish to talk about, and we're certainly going to stack it up for you, and we'll talk about the Dancing Amusement Park Boogie Flan next week, too.
All right, boys.
All right, that's Dylan. All right, so we've got another piece of information on this deal from Laurel Fowler, and Laurel is a must-follow as well when it comes to what's going on up in Cincinnati. According to Laurel, can confirm Cincinnati has finalized signing Miles Robinson. It's through 2024 with an option for 25. So this sounds like it is a one-year deal with an option for a second for Miles to go to Cincinnati. So,
get that again?
Laurel Fowler, at Laurel Fowler on the Twitters. Must follow and must subscribe. Can confirm, this is her on the 280-character app. Can confirm FC Cincy has finalized signing of former Atlanta United center back Miles Robinson. It's through 2024 with an option for 25. A one-year deal with an option for a second. That's what this deal is.
Yeah. Look, Twitch pitch. I await your hate mail.
No, they're
it was never going to be easier for Miles Robinson to move to Europe than this winter window. And you had no sort of transfer fees to worry about. You had no hiccups, hangups other than an agent fee. And if you look at Miles's play from the last season, there were moments where Miles Robinson did Miles Robinson things, where he put certain attackers in his hip pocket and left them there.
Yeah.
But there were also moments where it looked like he was asleep at the wheel. And I understand that, as somebody who was an original, kid came in here and really just, his growth and development under Frank DeBoer was amazing. It looked like the sky was the limit, but injuries don't care about paychecks. Mm-hmm. Injuries don't care about contract windows. And the way that he and the injury that he had when he had it was unfortunately just horrific timing.
Yeah.
Horrific timing.
Yeah.
If the team could have made money by sending an American homegrown product to Europe and made 8, 9, 10 million, I promise you, no matter what you think about this front office, they would much rather have taken that than not re-signing him, just letting him walk as a free agent. Because one, doing this, if you move Miles Robinson as an Atlanta United player where you drafted him, he's not he wasn't like one of these guys that came up through your academy that you've built from the age of 10 up. You're talking about a kid you drafted and then built up, right? What does that say about what would that say to other kids in the same position as Miles was? Mm-hmm. I'm going to Atlanta. That's where I want to play. They have a history of moving American players to Europe. I'm on it. But injuries happen. It happened at a terrible time. I don't know what the number specifics were. If he was offered a quote unquote high TAM deal, but not quite DP deal. Right. And since he essentially did the DP deal, but they pay it down, right? Yeah. If that's just dollars and cents, I don't blame Robinson for taking that deal if he took it. But there was never a better window for him to go than now. Yeah. And if And it's not like a team had to reach out to Atlanta to get permission to do it. They just had to call his agent and say, we're offering X amount of money. Come here and play. He's not playing in Europe. He's playing in Cincinnati. I think that speaks very plainly for what the landscape was for Miles Robinson. I think he's looking for an opportunity to play in front of a team that maybe it was closer to a championship last year, better team last year than Atlanta. And he's hoping that performance will get him to Europe. Right. And that I can't blame him. I can't knock him for that, but I'm not going to get into the idea that this is a disaster for the Atlanta United front office. I think the timing just sucked. The injury, the recovery, moments where he was on, the moments where he was off, the change around at the, with 6 and 8 for Atlanta, trying to shore that up didn't help him either. It is what it is. And I wish Miles the best, but this was it. This was the best opportunity in my mind for him to go to Europe and have a shot to stick and stay, because it's the cheapest option for some of these European teams that are cost conscious.
And I mean, it's just odd. A year and an option year.
I don't think that's odd. I don't think that's odd. I think it's odd because it protects the player on two fronts.
Okay.
If I'm the agent, it protects my player on two fronts. It protects him, it gives you the flexibility to move to Europe cheaply, right? Because you have a 1-year deal, so you can definitely work that transfer fee down. But in the event that European teams don't come calling, but you still played well enough to keep that roster spot at that price point, there's very little doubt that Cincinnati would trigger that option. And so you're guaranteed, you'd be as close to guaranteed for 2 years with the flexibility to move. To me, it's not an odd deal. It makes a lot of sense in my mind.
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense from the team perspective. I mean, from the Miles perspective.
That's what I'm saying. If I'm Miles's agent, this deal makes sense to me.
Okay.
Because I talk to my player and say, well, Miles, what do you want to do? I really want to get to Europe, but I don't want to be some kid who's just brought in and just chucked on the bench. I want to have a good opportunity to start and play meaningful minutes in Europe. Okay. Well, the European deals that we've received so far have not been the best. Maybe they've been from leagues that probably wouldn't be the best for you, or the teams that wouldn't be best for you. So the best money on the table right now is Cincinnati. Okay. But I don't want to stay in MLS forever. I want to have the opportunity to move to Europe. All right. What if we have the deal structured as this? We have 1 year guaranteed, and then with an option that, in the event that you play really well, Cincinnati is going to receive offers from European teams. They will trigger that option, meaning that you're going to be guaranteed a second season of pay no matter what. And they're going to do that so that way they have control over the contract and they can get money from your transfer. How does that sound? Sounds good to me. All right. So you're getting paid no matter what. If you play well enough to garner interest from European teams, Cincinnati triggers the deal. You now have a second, year of top flight pay, and you have the flexibility financially because your transfer fee, because it's only 1 year, not 2, not 3, that a European team can come in here and offer something like a $2.5 million transfer fee, $3 million transfer fee, and Cincinnati will take that money gladly and you'll move over. And so to me, it offers the right blend of flexibility from a contract perspective and from an income guarantee. I don't think you're beating that. And if I'm his agent, I would have advised him to take that deal. To me, it's just smart. It's a good deal is not one where you get necessarily everything you want at first blush. Sometimes the best deal is the one that offers you the most flexibility down the road. And that's what this deal does.
Okay. Right now, we mentioned Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez is a part of Cincinnati's future. Brentford is still out there as a rumor for Brandon Vasquez. Monterrey picked up some steam last week. But right now you're looking at a back line at least anchored by Miazga and Miles. And yeah, I mean, Dylan did catch my somewhat tongue-in-cheek reference to Matt Miazga there, but everything involving Miles, Miles is still trying to come back from that injury. And you mentioned the injury and the Achilles. It could not have happened at a worse time for him professionally. And we've all known that Miles is just a different cat. And if things in Europe weren't going the way, and you saw the light show at TQL where always be BC Cruton, and they're welcoming Miles in on the visit a couple of weeks ago and that kind of a thing. And if Miles feels that, he's once again close to winning at least a pie plate in the Eastern Conference, I would think that Cincinnati's one of the favorites to win the pie plate next year. You're chasing after another title, and it's a 1 plus the possibility of another year. So, like I said, Miles has always just been a different kind of a cat. And if he thinks that this is what he's looking for, then this is what Miles thinks he's looking for. I mean, until Miles says something, until Miles holds up the jersey and has the press conference at TQL or wherever they're going to have it, right now, this is all the stuff, Nick, that we can work on here. He didn't get his Walker Zimmerman 30% increase and make north of 2, but he's in Cincinnati for 1 plus an option.
If he was more consistent last year and played at the same level that he did in like
2019,
like 2019, I would say that you were getting a ton of European offers.
Yeah.
You would probably have a team in MLS that would offer him DP money.
Yeah.
Because this league is not always spending DP money on attacking players. You do have teams that would spend DP money on a defender.
Yeah, if that's the way they're wired, absolutely.
Right. And I understand that there is the idea that you should have kept him here, that that it's a bad look on the front office. I get it. I understand. However, there was a lot of angst about Ibarra moving, and we can absolutely have a conversation about the manner in which and the speed in which he moved. That's fine. However, I would say that Mayumba was a radical upgrade when it comes to that move, right? I don't think anyone's sad about the fact that Mayumba was able to do the things that he was able to do when Ibarra was not there, right? We were more consistent from a defensive perspective. We had better options in breaking the lines. His ability to feed the attack, more rapidly from in transitional play was jarring. I understand these are our guys. However, there are times that you upgrade.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you gamble and you lose. Sometimes you do. But I know everybody was mad when Gressel left. I would say that we upgraded that position, especially from a defensive perspective.
And considering what Julian wanted financially would hamstring the rest of your development and the building of the roster.
Right. And so, the guy's been moved now, twice without his input. So, I would say.
So let's see. He goes to DC. So Atlanta says no. He goes to DC.
Mm-hmm. And he goes to Vancouver.
DC to Vancouver, Vancouver to Columbus, and now looking for work.
Yep. And so you have, but you've upgraded more than a few times. You had somewhere you struck and missed, right? And that's, I think, some of that was just.
Well, if you hit 100% of the time with the front office,
right?
Show me somebody who's exec of the year and has not given up that trophy.
Right. But in this situation, Miles wanted what Miles wanted. He was a free agent. A free agent. He's not playing in Europe. He's playing in Cincinnati. He took the best deal on the table. He's wearing Kroger colors now. And, good for him. the Leafy mantra: get your money, get paid. Right? I hope. It's like the movie Sorry to Bother You, right? I hope you get all the money. I hope you get everything in life that's good that's coming to you. You smell good. What is that? Oh, it smells wonderful. It's like the compliment fighting. Love Miles.
Right.
I hope you lose so much this year that you question everything. But I want him, I want him to be healthy. I want him to accomplish his dream of going to Europe, but he's going to have to play at a level and a consistency that was better than last year. He's going to have to. And we can be mad as fans that something didn't work out a particular way, but he's not playing in Europe. Is he playing in Europe or not?
I believe the answer to that is no, sir.
No, he's playing in Cincinnati. And if a team in Europe thought he was worth X amount of dollars, they would pay X amount of dollars to bring him in. And if you look at Serie, right? People weren't, people said, oh, Christian Pulisic, oh my God, they got him for a steal. He should have gone for like 50 million. Milan paid what the market would bear, right? They brought him in. Weston McKennie. Oh, McKinney's out of Juve. Oh my God, he's going to be gone. Where's McKinney starting and thriving now? Starting and thriving at Juve, right? You have teams that are going and looking and seeking out American talent now because American talent is cheap. They're coachable. They're athletic as hell. That is good money spent if you do it right. No one came for Miles Robinson. So I have no problem with Atlanta United saying, this is what we're willing to offer you. Nope, not taking it. Going somewhere else. All right, brother, we wish you the absolute best. Please know that you always have a home here. Need anything, please let us know. Out the door Miles goes.
Yeah.
What is Atlanta doing now? They're talking about bringing in all these other cats. I've got no problems with it. Let's see how it bears out. It's dollars and cents. It's a cap league. It's dollars and cents.
Yeah.
And
once again, it comes to the build in and of itself. It is the build that you are trying to create within a cap league with structure. And you have to look at this. Cincinnati has looked at this like a Borg-like build. They are all about the collective. Every team in Major League Soccer has their own way of going about things, looking out for the collective. Atlanta United has a certain way of going about looking after the collective with bringing in folks from Europe, building from the academy, having folks on hand from all their other connections otherwise. Cincinnati, within their structure, found a way to put Miles in. And like I said, this is on Miles. Atlanta United, now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Atlanta United put a high TAM, the highest of high TAM deals on the table. They put a high TAM deal on the table. This was confirmed publicly. We put a high TAM deal on the table for Miles. He said no. And what are you going to do? You can't do that.
Yeah, and it takes two to sign a deal, right? Unless somebody triggers an option on you, but it takes two to sign a deal. And if Miles felt that he did everything in his power, everything within his abilities to warrant a Zimmerman deal, and Atlanta did not give him one, I have no doubts that in Miles's mind, he's like, okay, I'm going to go prove you wrong, which is great. I love that mentality in an athlete, right? Which means that when Atlanta said, our deal's not really changing, it's going to be right here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Miles may have looked at that deal and said, I can't go back and take that deal because I need to, I've already said, I know what I'm worth. I'm not going to diminish.
I can't go back. Yeah. I can't go back. And okay, now I'll take less. No, you can't do that.
No, you can't do that. Once you set your bar, you gotta kind of run that. So it's in my mind, I respect the move and I get it. I don't think this is a failure by the front office. I don't think it's a failure by Miles.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where a player has an idea of their value, and the team disagrees and says, okay, please go and test the market, have fun. And they gave him free and unfettered access to the transfer market. Now he's stuck at Kings Island up outside of Cincinnati. That's not where I would go.
Shooty Delight and Skyline Chili and Miles.
No. But again, he thought he was worth Zimmerman money. The market bore out that that's not the case because he ain't getting Zimmerman money up in Cincinnati. He's not getting Zimmerman money in Europe.
Yeah.
He's getting TAM money in Cincinnati. He was offered TAM money here in Atlanta, right? But he believed that he was worth X amount of money. So since he says, look, you are a valued member, all right? We're recruiting, right? You're going to come here. We competed for a cup last year. We're going to do it again. We're going to be better next year. And it only happens if you're here, right? And Atlanta's over here like, brother, you're worth a TAM, not a DP, all right? Even if it's the same money, it's something where, well, I'm going to go where I'm wanted, They
recruited me.
I didn't feel like Atlanta was recruiting me. But again, if Miles' Achilles does not go DEFCON 1, we're probably having a very different conversation right now about him being at Feyenoord or Eindhoven or Roma or wherever. We're probably having a very, very different conversation if his Achilles doesn't go.
Yeah, Ricky says
Achilles went.
Yeah, Ricky says if Miles doesn't blow his Achilles, he's in Europe. That's the long and the short of it.
Right. And sometimes as much as you want to be in business with somebody, right? It makes sense across all the different levels. Absolutely, this deal should be getting done. Sometimes it just doesn't get done.
Yeah. And
it could be for a number of reasons. In this case, injuries and timing played critical roles. It's just one of those things. And it sucks because you want him to finish his time here before he goes to Europe. You want that direct path from college, Atlanta United, Europe. It ain't happening. So, it's I get it. I wish him the absolute best.
Tip your hat, and we'll see you. We'll see you when we see you.
Yeah. So he'll get his standing ovation. At MBS when he comes through. But I know we wanted Joseph Martinez here forever, right? Joseph Martinez is, as far as I know, still without a team.
Yeah, he is without Club FC as one of their strikers at the moment.
All right. So, Gressel currently without a team.
Yeah, he is right back for without Club FC.
Okay. All right. Talent gets acquired. And talent, it's a cold, hard world that sports occupies. It pulls on the heartstrings because these are people who we may have met and have been very kind to us. They may have, done things for us that made us feel special. And I'm not saying this I'm saying this with zero sarcasm.
Right.
They may have done things and said things that made us feel valued and special and recognized. And there's somebody out there whose job it is to put all that emotional stuff aside and say, dollars to donuts, do the numbers bear out? And if the numbers don't bear out, we have to make a tough choice. That's how championship teams are made. And if you look at what Columbus did the same thing with Gressel. They said, look, we used him in the role that we used him in. Substitute, off the bench, came in, contributed, but the numbers don't make sense for us going forward. We got to move him. Miles, the injury, wants DP money. Numbers don't make sense. We got to let you go or just not resign you.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. But if they could have made money on him, they would have made money on him. That's my only thing I'm throwing out there. So we can be mad.
And Miles could have also signed a deal And that way, Atlanta, if he could have moved on, if let's say he was healthier, what we've seen is teams control an asset, sign a player to a deal, and then get something in return, piece of the pass or what have you for that particular player. If you sign, Miles could have signed a deal, done the team a solid. It's like, okay, well, I'll sign a 1 or whatever, or a 2 or a 3, and then you move me on and you shop me and you get a piece of the action back, and that way you get kind of your money. But that didn't happen either. We've seen that in other places. Miles made guaranteed 1.48, and this is once again from Laurel. 1.48 and guaranteed in 23, picking up the option on the deal. Atlanta was the only team capable of signing him to a deal worth more than 1.65 because of a rule preventing other MLS teams from offering more than a 15% raise. So he could not have Miles. If Miles wanted Zimmerman money, it would have only been Zimmerman base. 1.65 would have been the max he could have gotten from any club in a DP situation, period. 1.65, and then you could go with an NIL that could get you close to Zimmerman. But this is not the deal that Miles has signed. No official announcement pending. Signed through 24, option to 25.
I like the deal. I know a lot of people may disagree, but I like the deal. I like the deal for Miles. I like the deal for Cincy. If an athlete should bet on himself, on his or herself, you should. Because if you think I've got 1 more or 2 more years of high level play,
yeah,
it doesn't matter if everyone else says no, you don't. Right? If you think you have it, you're the one who has to live when you're all done playing, when you're done doing whatever it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, this is in general. All right. You owe it to yourself to finish the string with as few regrets as humanly possible. And one of the greatest regrets that you hear from people, whether it's, time in the military or sports or following a dream, is I feel like I gave up too quickly.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I had that, right? I had that when I was doing corporate America stuff and not doing video stuff. Now, my bank account may certainly wish that I was back doing corporate America stuff, but I feel like I can walk away when it's all said and done saying, you know what? I gave it another run and I gave it everything I had. And good, bad, or indifferent, this is how it worked out. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out how it's going to work out. And I think that Miles owes himself the opportunity to prove doubters wrong, to prove Europe wrong. And he's gotten a number of years to play at a high level. But he only has so many years where he is a viable addition to a European team. If he feels this move gets him, from a playing perspective, closer to Europe, good for him.
Yeah. What's on TV today? BN has the French Super Cup and BN Espanyol, PSG and Toulouse at 2:45. If you don't have BN, you can get Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You get Fanatis, you get all the BNs, you get CDO for the fans, Gold TV, Teise, Liga 1 Max, all of that stuff in one place. Jason encouraged me and has corrupted me to it. I blame him. CBS Sports Network, round of 16 in the Coppa Italia at 3 o'clock, Roma and Cremonese. ESPN Deportes, 3 matches in La Liga, Granada, Cadiz, Real Madrid, Mallorca, Girona, Atletico Madrid at 11, 1:15, and 3:30. So Granada and Cadiz is already 15 minutes in. On the plus, it is those 3 matches as well as Celta de Vigo and Real Betis at 1:15. Coppa Italia doubleheader on Paramount Plus with our friend Poppy Miller. Atalanta Sassuolo at noon, Roma and Cremonese at 3 o'clock. Obviously, we will talk tomorrow more about Miles. We'll talk more about stuff. We still have some things on the table that we haven't gotten into, and we'll get into that tomorrow. Gotham signing everybody, NWSL versus USL Super League. We'll get into all that stuff. Nico Moreno, who had the Ladero transaction cold. We'll talk to him about Nico heading to the purple team and anything else on his mind. Nick, last words before we go.
Look, sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. Opportunities in life, everybody always says the magic things of you you can accomplish anything if you put your mind to it. That's not true. That's one of the dirtiest lies you'll ever be told in your life. You can accomplish a vast majority of the things that you want to accomplish if you put forth the necessary effort. But there's some things that just don't materialize. They don't work out, which means that those opportunities you have to work to accomplish something are even more precious than people tell you, right? So focus on those things that you can accomplish, that you can get done. Work toward those things, and sometimes it just don't work out, baby. That's just all it is to it. You know what? No matter what, I still love you. All right? We still love you here on SDH, whether it works out for you or not, because we believe in you, okay? You're number one, baby. You're number one. Don't let anybody tell you different.
What he said. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha Platiel back at 9:05 in the morning. Thanks to Nick, thanks to Dylan, thanks to Jarrett, and thanks to y'all. It's been a fun day talking rumors and signings, and we're only at January 3rd. Back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05. We're chasing folks to talk about what happened today. We'll see what happens. Catch up with you tomorrow. End of the show. That means I get to do this.